everybody, I'm Suzanne, and today I'm going to review a product that was given to me to give it a try. They gave me a whole bunch of these, and yeah, so I said, yeah, I'll see, I'll give it a review, and we'll go from there. Liquitex Professional has a positive mark on our future, recycled canvases, and each canvas is made from 3 plastic bottles. Now, it says it's made from three recycled plastic bottles, 100% recycled plastic bottles, and fastened to an FSC certified wood. Suitable for both acrylic and oil paint, this high quality surface has been tested by professional artists and within our lab, so you can create with confidence while reducing your impact on the environment. Now, being an environmental artist, being an artist with environmental interests, yeah, I was kind of excited about this. I've never painted on it. I don't know anything about it, but we're going to give it a try. And so today we're going to paint a little bird called the common yellowthroat. It's a type of warbler. It's just a little bird, and we're going to paint that today. So we're going to try this particular canvas. This is an 8x10 recycled plastic canvas. So let's give it a go. The palette we're going to use to do this little yellowthroat bird, this warbler, is titanium white. This is, it's Winsor Newton. It's an old tube, and it's called flesh tint. Now I think they would call it Caucasian flesh tint, as we know that flesh comes in all different colors. This is, that is Burnt Umber Cool by Michael Harding, Payne's Gray by Winsor Newton, King's Blue, Michael Harding, Ivory Black, Winsor Newton, Yellow Ochre, Michael Harding, Cadmium Yellow, Blue Ridge, Terra Vert, Michael Harding, Celadon Green by Charvine, and this is Gold Green by Richardson. So we'll see where we can go with this and see how this canvas performs. Now, I'm going to just see how this substrate works. So remember, this is made with, each piece is made with like 3 plastic bottles. I am taking basically a wash for the background color, and it's a combination, you can see I got some blue on there. It's a combination of the flesh tint, titanium white, and the cool burnt umber cool, and a little bit of yellow ochre. And I just wanted to make, kind of want that warm peachy look. I'm going to go ahead and paint the sides. Now, usually what I do is I'm just going to wipe out where I think the little bird's going to go. And then I'll put just getting those sides. So far, it feels like a regular canvas, even though this is plastic. Now, I think because of being that it is plastic, I think it's going to be a good use of recycled material. And I think as far as archival purposes, it should be wonderful, I would think. Okay. Okay, we got that in. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of wipe out where I think the bird's going to go. And I'm just going to take a pointed round brush. I'm going to make him a little off center. Suggest that he's kind of in this area. A little fat bird. I want to give, I don't like to get that close to the edge. And his little wings will be in this area, his tail. Kind of give you an idea where I think he's going. I'll just take a paper towel and kind of take some of this off. I usually find that this is a good way to start a piece for me. His little wings. And his wings kind of coming this way. his shoulder, to his wing, and his tail. That's where the yellow throat's going to go. Its beak. It's kind of, oops, it's okay. I just want to kind of get that out of there. Now, a lot of the shape will come. Now I'm going to take a little bit, and I'd show you the palette, except it came unglued. I don't know if it'll stay up for me. We'll try it and see if you can see it. It's pretty small, so let me see if I can move it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of suggest where the bird's going to go, and I'll show you here on the side what this little bird looks like. It's a warbler. It's actually quite common, but it's common in the areas that it resides. So I don't see them that often. I've seen them maybe once or twice, and it's usually one of those situations where, what did I just see? Kind of cases. All right, I just took a little bit of this green, and I am going to factor in, I'm going to kind of suggest, and I'm going in very thin with the paint, very thinly. Then it kind of goes like this for this little shoulder. I'm going to suggest that. Okay. I'm probably using the wrong brush, to be honest with you. Let's go a little smaller. Forgive me as I am unprepared as I'm finding a brush. I was just using the brushes that I had out already from when I was painting the dog portrait. That was what I had out. So let's just use this little brush. And again, I am trying to keep, if this is here, the back, and I'm just wanting to, I'm going to put a little of the gray in it. Terravert. Now, terravert is kind of a, come on, Sue, get it. Let's see. There's a stack of feathers there. We'll get that in later. And this one needs, just kind of getting my placement here. There's a little bit more warmth and brown in that. Okay, so there's that. I'm gonna grab a little bit of this ivory black. Terravert, and even though I suggest that's a little greener in there. The tail is quite green, and I'm grabbing the green gold. Just remember, this is just my first pass, y'all. And when you're doing bird species, it's good to know, like, identifying field markings and make sure that you get those things in there. This bird, to me, has a very wren-like body build. They'll even carry their tail a little bit erect, like a wren. But they are a warbler. But I'm looking at body proportions. This in the photo reference, I'm just going to kind of suggest it's fluffy here. Okay. The body has this. I'm going to grab a little bit of yellow, a little bit of white, and I have my brush is kind of messy. You know, it's already got some of that other color, so I look at it as mother color. You've heard me say that word before, perhaps. And from the shoulder down. Okay, I'm going to suggest his little, I try to keep my colors as clean as I can, so I'm wiping my brush off real well, and I'm just going to take a big old amount of yellow and suggest it goes right in here and forward. And there, remember, I'm doing a very rough build here. Oops, somebody's at my door. Okay, sorry. Now I'm going to, and a lot of times I know that I'm going to be changing stuff around. The bill, I'm going to use a little bit of the Payne's Gray. I have green on the brush, and I don't really want it on there. And again, this is going to be very, very, and I forgot the whole purpose of this video is to talk about this substrate, and I have to say I'm forgetting that I'm not painting on you know, something that I'm used to, like a regular canvas, because it's behaving very similar. It's actually quite nice. All right, so I'm just going to kind of suggest that that's the dark part. There's a really interesting, and I'm going to clean my brush off really well. Actually, I'm going to use a different brush. And I'm going to be very straight with my color. I'm just going to put the King's Blue here. Even though there's a lot of other colors mixed in here, just for the sake of holding my place here, I am going to put that right there. And you can see I'm grabbing some of the Terra Vert, and I'm going to, come on, Sue. All right, we're just getting this kind of, there's a little bit more red in that. And I'll fix my colors, I'll correct my colors later. Once I kind of have my shapes in, and bring that green up, let's go ahead and I'm gonna grab a little Payne's Gray. All right, so proportionally they do look like they have a big head. I'll kind of have to look at it and just kind of see how I feel. Okay, so I'm looking at it, and I think I have the head a little bit too big. So we're gonna go ahead and bring this up a little bit more. And that shoulder, cover it, and it goes right up into this area of the head. I think I'm getting a little bit better here. And grab a little bit of this King's Blue, white, and I can, there's going to be some dark values in here too, but I just want to make sure I can actually cut in. I can do a lot of cutting in from this direction with the background color, but I just wanted to kind of get the making a little bit more opaque. There's a very gold green look here on this part of the back. And remember, I'm just blocking this in, so I don't want to get a lot of paint on it yet until I make my corrections and shapes. Wing feathers, okay. So I'm just grabbing some of the Celadon Deep. And I just need to kind of So from here down, we've got a wing feather. It's not brown enough. Okay. Okay, so I'm still trying to get my bearings here. Get the dark values in. Feather there, feather that comes down to here. And I will do all the other stuff here in a little bit. We'll put a little bit of a light value here just to hold it in place for it. Then it turns to this green. And in here it's very intense. And it's a lot of feathers, so I may be bringing this down a little bit more. And you'll see, this is why sometimes my shapes morph quite a bit. And that's going to come down to here. And get it established with some other colors here. So I'm taking that ivory black and the terra vert and just kind of suggesting where this is going. And when we can see that this is... So in here, these feathers, these are the flight feathers that I'm getting ready to, just to delineate a little bit. Going to kind of suggest that. I'm not really going to go in there and do that right now. Because again, remember I have to make sure I have everything in the right place, because I might have to be shrinking that head down a little bit. Because sometimes when Sue starts a piece, she kind of gets it a little off. I know. And then there's a feather that kind of comes up here. There's a dark value, and then there's that bright green. So I'm gonna grab a little bit more of that green gold with some titanium white. Come on, Sue, get it. Get it. As we know that that green kind of comes to about here. Just kind of put that back on there. Again, I've got a little bit of that blue-gray here. Okay, so this So these feathers kind of come down to about here. They kind of curve in. They'll curve in like that. So we'll be able to take some of that off. Okay, it's starting to feel a little bit better to me. So we're going to go underneath here, go a little darker, kind of cut the feathers in around the tail, so you can see the wing feathers a little bit more. And even there, even these have individual feathers before the long feathers start. So now we're going to be lengthening the tail just a little bit more. From here. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. Now he does have, because he's standing on a little twig. Now these guys oftentimes would be found in areas like, I don't want to say swampy, marshy areas. I usually think of warblers as being birds that are high in the treetops, and they almost always have a green or yellow cast because, and a lot of times they're underneath is bright yellow. Because if you're looking up into a canopy of a tree and you're looking up at a bird, you're not going to see them because that bright yellow is almost like a disguise. Because they blend in so well with the green of the canopy of the trees. Okay. Obviously needed a little bit of a different brown in this mixer, but I think we're okay for now. There's going to be some darker colors in here too, but I just want to kind of okay, and then over here. Okay, so there's lots of puff for some reason because he's kind of leaned up against a branch and it's kind of fluffed him up a little bit. And I may get in there and decide, I don't want that. Okay, so I'm gonna add a little bit more of an arch to his neck. So where this comes up, I'm gonna bring this out a little bit more. Let's see, this would be, I think, is this right? I think I'm missing some of this part here. Okay. What I'm gonna do is actually start using my background color to cut this bird a little bit more, because I'm not really certain that the shape is correct yet. So let's do that. I'm going in with the background color that we originally used, which was the combination of sorry, I'm thinking out loud here. Thinking. It's a combination of the flesh tint, titanium white, a little bit of the cool burnt umber, and yellow ochre. And I'm just gonna take a little bit of oil now and just get this kind of cut in. I'm using a number 5 long flat series 279. And I'm just going up to the edges where just kind of cutting in. If I don't know if that beak is going to be a lot more refined. So when I look at him, yeah, I mean, it's okay. I'm still not convinced I have the proportions correct, because his head seems awfully big, but when I'm looking at the photo reference, I'm trying to, I may actually make his head a little bit taller. So I will be getting the background in a minute. And this is going to come down. So if I'm picking up any of the greens, I need to kind of clean my brush off. I want to keep everything soft, but I also want to keep it clean. And I think that I'm okay. I keep checking my brush to make sure there's not like green all over it. And the nice thing about this particular brush, it is a natural hair brush, and it's this, I mentioned it in other videos, I used to not be a big fan of flats. I was always more likely to want to use rounds and filberts, but actually one of my students turned me on to these, going with flats, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I really like this. I can be easily influenced, especially by my students, right? Okay, so there's that. The crown of this bird's going to be slightly more elevated, so I think I'm okay. And by the way, the coverage of this paint on this substrate is beautiful. It's going right into the grooves, and it's almost, shall I say, feels like linen, because it's the weave is so tight. I said it. I said the thing. It's almost like linen. I'm gonna come in a little bit more on that beak. Oops, see, now I did get a little bit of that blue. Cover that up. I'm going to be putting some trees, some branches and stuff, and we're going to make some of them very light in the background. And I don't need it to be a real heavy amount of paint back here. So I'm going to go today and see how far I get on this painting. Because I have a dog portrait I'm also working on. So, and I also have I have students. I better watch the time. It's already 11:34. I have students at 1, so it's very likely that I won't get a lot of painting done today, but I'll take it as far as I can take it today. Yeah, this is a very nice substrate. And I'm excited if it works out to be something that Liquitex decides to continue with. I'll be curious to know if you're an artist, would you be willing to try something like this if it meant that it was, you're even if it's a small effort towards saving the planet. I mean, I've never thought I was going to be that girl, but you know what? Sometimes the older I get, the more that girl I become. All right, so this part of the back is slightly going to come out a little bit more, and there's a little bit more roundness here. Okay, but this is covering really nicely. And I'm really kind of digging the substrate, y'all. It's very nice. I knew I had to take advantage of the wet paint. So I actually remembered to do all this background while I had my students. I had my Tuesday night class. So I'm just putting in the tree, the little branches and twigs that this little bird is perched on. And I have to say, this substrate is awesome. It's very, very smooth. It reminds me of painting on linen. I do use a lot of different substrates, and I paint on wood. I paint on masonite. I paint on canvas. I paint on linen. I have even painted on the aluminum panels. But this is nice. I gotta say I'm digging it. So just kind of suggesting that background in, and it doesn't even matter what brushes I'm using. It all seems to be going, smoothly as far as the texture of this canvas. And I keep saying, when I say canvas, I'm kind of doing air quotes because it's not made from canvas. It is not cotton duck. It is plastic, but it's going great. Full disclosure, this is the second day of this little yellow throat warbler. And, I'm using a smaller brush. I'm using one of the Rosemary Workbench Warrior series. This canvas, or this substrate, is only an 8 by 10. So I really do need to use smaller brushes when doing this bird. And I'm just kind of highlighting the little areas of the nape of his neck and the back of his neck here. And I figure out that I really have to move the wings over a little bit, but that'll happen a little bit. But I'm just kind of working my way through. Now the brush that I'm using here is actually one of the Velvet Touch brushes. And again, Scott from the Jerry's Artorama in Knoxville provided that brush. He just, he's awesome. He gives a lot of free samples out, and he gives me brushes to try. Everybody knows I'm a rosemary girl. I love my rosemary brushes. But this little Velvet Touch is a very, very nice brush. And I have to say, for a soft pointed round, it does hold its point well. It's a synthetic brush, but it's kind of sable-like. It's very sable-y feel to it, very soft. And it does hold its point well. And I have been abusing this brush quite a bit because, and I say abusing because I'll use, I'll flop over to acrylic paint with it. I'll paint with oils with it, and it gets used quite a bit, and it does really, really well.
Now I am just kind of working on just the shapes still, believe it or not. I have not really gotten into the detail. And I'm trying to get the shapes of this little bird correct. So I think I'm going to put the eye here, but then I end up moving it because I moved the bill. But it's all going into place and seems to be coming along nicely. I did add a little phthalo turquoise to the palette. That is what I'm using for that kind of fun little blue area on the bird's head. I originally just had King's Blue down, but it just wasn't cutting it. So I added some of the phthalo turquoise, and it's actually a Gamblin paint. And working on this little crown of this little yellow throat. And again, using a very small pointed round brush by Rosemary. And I believe this is a 2-aught. And just kind of put in some of the detail. Of course, I realized I need to work into a wet surface. So eventually I'll go in and add some of the background, peachy color to the background, just so I can have that wet edge. Again, I like playing with some of the current Pantones for 2024, and Fuzzy Peach is one of the Pantones. Now, it just was kind of serendipitous that this actually had quite a bit of that color, excuse me, in the photo reference that I used to do this piece. But obviously, this looks very peachy, and I like it. Well, I'm just getting that little crown in, and I'm using a combination of the burnt umber cool, and I added raw sienna, just so I can warm that color up just a tad, and that's what's going into the crown of this bird's head. Now I've got to lay in this little bird's eye, and I'm reaching up there for my ivory black, and I am trying to create the area around the eye. So, and I actually do take, to make the brown of the eye, I took a little bit of the burnt umber cool and mixed a little bit of yellow and purple, some colors into it, just so you can tell that iris of the bird's eye is not completely black. And then I'll take a little bit of a gray that I made using the King's Blue and a little bit of one of the browns that I have there, just to make the little ring around the eye. Sort of, it's the little bird's eyelid, if you will. And, that's the only way really to delineate where the eye starts and the black feathers, are. So, and of course, I'll have to put that little fun shine in the top of the bird's eye. And that always needs to be somewhat rounded, since the eyeball itself is a little round, just almost like a little tiny pea. It's a little tiny round ball inside of a socket. So you've got to create that shape of the eye. And by using the highlight a little slightly curved does help do that. Just working the details of the bill, and you got to get the bills right, right? Since mainly warblers look like they're little insect eaters, you can tell by the shape of their bill. You got to get the bills right. And, I've got to put the lower bill is almost always a little bit darker, and then there's that shine on the upper bill. So he's got that little bit of that peachy brown color that runs right at the lip line. If birds had lips, this is his lip line right here. So again, I'm going back to that original peachy color. I think I warmed it up with a little bit of raw umber, or raw sienna, into that bill. But that's what that is. And when you look at the reference, you can tell it's very similar to that color that I'm laying down right now. To create the depth in that throat area of this bird, I'm good. You can see that I have a little bit of more of a yellow ochre, a cooler yellow, towards the interior part of the bird's body. It's a darker or a cooler yellow, and by putting the cad yellow on the outside, it gives the illusion of picking up the light and the highlights that you would find in that little yellow patch. And remember, these birds, most warblers are pretty much high in the treetops. So they will usually, or often, a lot of them have that kind of yellows and green colors, because if you were to look up into the canopy, you rarely notice them. Even though this is a very common bird, I'd have to be honest, I've never seen one before. And that's kind of a funny thing about warblers. Now, they also are migratory. And I have seen an unusual bird. It was a warbler, and let me think what it was called. I want to say it was a blue hooded warbler or something like this. It was a bird. When I saw it, I thought, oh my goodness, what is this? And I had to ask some of my birder friends that know more. I was taking videos, and they said, wow, that's you caught one that was migrating. It's not even supposed to be here. But this bird, yes, is common to this area, but I have not seen one. I've seen the ones that aren't supposed to be here, but I haven't seen this guy. So now I'm going to be on the lookout for him. But you can see what I'm doing here. I'm laying in, or I'm playing with my cool and warm yellows here to create that depth in that throat area. And just putting a couple little highlights, and of course using a small tiny pointed round to get this detail. Again, folks, this is just an 8x10 canvas, which is pretty small. And when you're painting a small subject on a very small canvas, you got to use the little brushes. And these little brushes come in quite handy. And what I like too about this substrate, if you are a highly detailed artist and really like to get the detail, obviously I do because I'm using these teeny weeny brushes, the texture allows you to get that without disruption or drag, if that makes sense. That's one of the reasons I often choose to paint on masonite, because it's so smooth. I can get all kinds of detail in there without the little funky bumps of the texture of the weave of the fabric. Now, even though this has that texture similar to a canvas or a canvas blend, this is plastic. So it's only slightly textured. It doesn't probably go all the way through. I'm not really sure how they made this. But I can tell you, you can get a lot of fine detail on this substrate. So another, big check mark for this particular substrate, and why I would probably very likely use it again. getting in more and more of the detail in the wing and delineating the primary flight feathers and the secondary flight feathers and how they're nicely stacked there. I'll do that with a darker value, and I'm using a little bit of the ivory black mixed with the terra vert green, and putting in the delineated wing lines and working that tail, because of course there's going to be a shadow where the wings come over the top of that tail. That's why it's a little darker, more of that olivey color. And just kind of getting in some of the details. Of course, I switched back over to that little Velvet Touch brush. And it's doing the trick. I will leave a link to the Velvet Touch brush, as well as this Liquitex Recycled Canvas. Of course, as well as my other rosemary brushes that I use. I'll make sure I leave the links in the description for you, so be on the lookout. And if you want to try it, I mean, the nice thing is, like, Scott is wonderful. And I don't know if you're local, if you're watching this and you're local and you go to Knoxville a lot, definitely stop by and see Scott at Jerry's Artorama. He does such a great job, and he's so knowledgeable. All his staff are awesome. I generally call in my orders. I'm old fashioned. I don't go online with them because I like talking to them. And my students know that they can order and have it delivered. They'll deliver it right to my studio, and we don't pay shipping costs. So that's the other thing. This is another reason why I like to use Scott. He's awesome. So if you're local or in this, the Tri-Cities area, and you do go to Knoxville and go see Scott, he'll take care of you. You tell him I sent you. Tell the staff there that, you know what, I was watching Sue's video and she had this amazing product and she said I had to get it here. So, and they'll probably laugh. But anyway, they'll take good care of you there. But I do like this substrate, and I definitely will recommend it. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm grabbing some of the colors and I'm adding a little bit more yellow to it and doing some of the slight lines and details, because of course the tail is made up of many feathers, and I'm just delineating the lines in the separate feathers here in the tail. Again, we're going to add a little bit more detail here in the wings, and you can see here a little better by zooming in. I'm laying in all the little feathers, and I'm still using a rather big brush for this job, but because the point on the brush is so nice, I can continue to use it for part of this here. And just kind of laying in the stack of those feathers a little bit more. I think I actually moved the wing over slightly because the bird is slightly angled. It's kind of hard to see, but he's perched on this branch, and I have yet to do the little bird's foot there, and it'll come in here soon. But so I've got to kind of get this a little bit angled, but we're getting those feathers in, and I'm lightening the tips of them and using a nice gray and at the tip, but as it goes closer to the shoulder, it's more of a olivey green color. And so you got to kind of play around with that a little bit. And it's good to work into wet paint. Now, this is 2 days. This is a 2-day painting for me. And it was because I started it late in the afternoon. I was actually working on a dog portrait too, which, by the way, you guys will get to see coming up soon. But I got a late start on it. I probably could have finished this one in a day, but I wasn't. I started too late. But oftentimes when you're doing small detail like this, it is kind of good to have a little bit of dry time in between painting sessions, just so you can stack your paint a little bit more easily. So now it looks like I'm fixing to mix some paint to do some legs. So you can watch what I'm doing here and figure it out. But yeah, I've got to get those little bird legs. It's one of the, as an artist, it's one of the things I probably don't enjoy painting the most. I know that sounds silly, but I got to figure out where this leg's going. And this is normally where the leg would go based on the photo reference. But because I laid the branches in when I did, and I really wasn't paying attention, I'm going to move the leg up slightly just so that I don't run into my branch. I've got to have that foot grab onto that, the stick. So if it was a perfect world and I was paying attention, I would have moved the stick back a little bit. But because I had it forward, I've got to move the leg up. Anatomically, yes, this too is also possible. So I'm not really concerned about that. But as far as following my reference, I went a little off the script here. But again, for all intents and purposes, today's video is mainly about a review of the Liquitex Recycled Plastic Bottled Canvases. And yeah, I have to say, I really have nothing bad to say about it. Only good things to say. I really do like the texture. Even painting fine detail is easy on this substrate, and it's very smooth. Everything is very smooth, and there's very little drag on the brush when I'm working. So even when I have to do little bird feet. And I'm getting just a lot of the last little bit of fine detail and just crisping up that stack of the wing feathers a little bit more, and just moving around and seeing where else I need to add just some crisper detail. And you have that feeling that the feathers are stacked even on the nape of the neck and on those feathers, and it helps to create, the volume that you need to make it, you can see the layers that make up this bird. Crisping up those edges really does help. But yeah, folks, you know that when I'm getting down to fine detail, we're about ready to call this one finished. So, folks, if you have any questions at all about anything I covered, just leave it in the comments section. And I definitely am going to give this particular substrate thumbs up. I was surprised at how well I liked it, to be honest with you. I like the idea of being more environmentally friendly and, making less of an impact on our environment with the products that we use. And so for that, that's like win-win. I love this product. So I'll see you on the other side.
And I think we are done. And here is the yellow throat, the common yellow throat. It's a little warbler. And here is our reference. And I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have any questions, just leave it in the comment section. I'll be glad to get to you. And I will catch you next time. So that was really actually an enjoyable process. I have to say that these little canvases work amazing. They almost have the brush, like putting the brush to the canvas or the substrate is almost like painting on linen. It's very smooth. These are made from 3 recycled plastic bottles. Liquitex Professional. I'm going to endorse them. I think they're awesome. This was really fun to try. Thank you, Scott, for sending these to me to give it a whirl. I have nothing negative to say about it. I think as far as sustainability or archival practices for the painting, I can't help but think it's an amazing archival, because it's not going to it's not going to rot. It's not going to, mold. It's plastic. This is plastic, but it has the same kind of texture as a canvas or linen would. In my opinion, it's probably a little bit smoother. It's probably more like linen than it is like painting on canvas. Everything just, it was very smooth. It was smooth. The painting process felt amazing. Yeah, I'm giving it 2 thumbs up. I would definitely recommend this product. And it's kind of nice when you think perhaps we're, maybe saving the planet just a little bit by using environmentally friendly art supplies, because let's face it, so much of what we as artists are using, especially, it doesn't matter. Artists, what we use as artists is oftentimes not necessarily the most environmentally friendly. We work with a lot of paints that have heavy metals. We work with paint thinners, and we work with a lot of stuff. And this, I feel like, is a guilt-free thing. I don't feel bad. I don't feel like this is tricky at all. And I would definitely recommend this product. So thanks so much for joining me today. And, maybe you want to try it. I'll leave the link to this product in the down below in the description. So you'll have it if you want to give it a try. Again, thank you, Scott from Jerry's Artorama in Knoxville, Tennessee, for providing these wonderful substrate for me to try. And yeah, I may be ordering some from you. So thanks again. So from Kingsport, Tennessee, I appreciate you being here, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.